Hello there, Shortcuts. This is Stephen here, and this is the first video for the Shortcuts price list, which will go out at 9 p.m. Wednesday, Sydney, East Coast time in Australia. If you are new to Shortcuts, I'm going to show you a bunch of records, and all of these will be for sale. And the price list will come out 9 p.m. as I said on an email. It's first come, first serve. If you would like to be on the email list, drop me a note at shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. Now, this is a really special list. First things first, I'm going to do something in this list that I've never done before. So what I've got here is about 12 or 13 Vinyl Me Please, either records of the month or limited signed, not signed, hand-numbered exclusives. Nearly all of them are sealed. Only a couple aren't, and I will show you which ones they are. What I'm going to do is, whoever buys from this list, and assuming I get 8 or more of these sold, then I am going to enter you into a draw. And the person who is last out of the draw will win a free record. And that free record is a Vinyl Me Please record of the month. It is I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning, Bright Eyes, which was their Essentials 115th release. It's got a art print. It's absolutely beautifully recorded. Obviously features Conor Oberst and Emmylou Harris. And also there's a song on there that was on the CD that my wife and I made for everyone at our wedding. And I will leave you to work out what it is. So assuming I get through more than half of this list on Wednesday night, then everyone who buys, so if you buy 3, you will get 3 entries, and I will do the draw and post the video, and someone will end up with an extra record for free. So with that said, let's look at what's here. Now, there's a lot of indie rock. There's some R&B, some incredible debuts, quite a bit of hip hop. There's some country. There's some ambient music. There's a lot of interesting things. Now, some of these I have, and where possible, I will then show you a little bit of the package, particularly the first 2, which are 2 of the greatest debuts of all time. Now, both of these are sold out. So for those of you who don't know who Vinyl Me Please are, they're an audiophile record club based out of Denver, Colorado. And they produce typically AAA records, which means they will go back to the tapes and they will use engineers, really high quality engineers like Ryan Smith or Barry Grint or Cicely Belson to repress these records, often with listening notes, which I really enjoy, and often with art prints. And I'll show you some examples of those as well. And so let's get started. The first 2 are 2 debut albums. The first one is this. This is Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not by the Arctic Monkeys. This is the long sold out repress that Vinyl Me Please did back in, I think it was like 2016 or 2017. Now, I looked for this record for 2 years before I found it. And so this is my copy. So there's the sleeve. And that is the old style Obi. And you know it's old style for Vinyl Me Please because on the inside is a cocktail recipe. The cocktail recipe for this record is called Riot Van. And it involves Scotch Vermouth, Angostura bitters, which I've never heard of, chilled blood orange. The art print that came with this kind of played on the kind of smoky nature of this record. I mean, Arctic Monkeys were formed in Sheffield, you know, a really working class town in north of England. And the photographs that made it into the booklet that went with this are pretty great. I'll show you some here. Really evocative. And at the back of this booklet are all the lyrics. Now, the lyrics in this band are pretty wonderful. My wife and I we kind of swap around what our favorite songs are in this record, but Marty Bum is always kind of up there. And a couple of the songs on here were released in, what was it, 2006 when this was released. And I remember them, going straight to number one in the UK charts. They were so popular. And this record then became the fastest selling debut record of all time in the UK. And I don't know if it still holds, oh, get this back. I don't know if it still holds that record, but it's great. And I also love the last track, A Certain Romance. I think that track is pretty great. They pressed the vinyl on this kind of smoky, ashy, and you can see that it is somewhat of an ashtray. Of course, playing off the kind of smoking on the sleeve as well. So that's my copy. I can tell you now, this thing sounds bloody amazing. There's no other word for it. They nailed it. Absolutely, totally, utterly nailed it. VMP exclusive. I don't know how they did it, but they smashed it out of the park, and it's great. Now, what's even more amazing is that this debut album was maybe even better. This is The Strokes. Is This It? Now this was the very first track. You see that says RR001? They formed a new track called Rock, which was pretty obvious that they had to do something. And this was the first record that they put out on the Rock track. So I'm going to show you my copy. The band wanted this sleeve. It did not want the hand on the bum sleeve that was on this record in the UK. But what's really cool about this is the only vinyl release that includes the track that was excluded because of 9/11, and that is, of course, New York City Cops, which is actually a great song. So this version includes New York City Cops and the replacement track that they had, that they put on the record at the time. So it's this beautiful gatefold. It's spectacular sounding record. Now, I mentioned listening notes before. Unlike the listening notes for, well, it's not really listening notes. It's a photography booklet for Arctic Monkeys. In this case, you actually get the story of the record in this really cool book, really well written. It's really insightful, and they pressed this on the most beautiful. Look at that. I reckon that's as good as you've ever seen. Now, Vinyl Me Please are pretty solid at pressing on colored vinyl. I know some companies aren't so much. I haven't had I've had very few issues over the years. I've been a member for a really long time, and those are two of the greatest indie rock debuts of all time. And I had the original presses, and I got rid of them. The Vinyl Me Please the package was better and the sound was better. And in fact, I will say this for all of these: the sound quality is spectacular. I think that they really go deep on getting the tapes or the best possible digital source for the hip hop stuff, and they give them to really reputable engineers. So Ryan Smith, Barry Grint, sometimes even Bernie Grundman, Cicely Belston is incredible. So what about this? This is awesome. So Santigold, now Santi White. Now this record is a mix of indie, dub, hip hop. This was the Essentials number 129. And this is a new sleeve that was done for this release. You can kind of see her vomiting out this kind of gold melange, and of course that's a play on commercialism and a lot of the themes that are in the record. She made this art print herself, which is kind of maybe somewhat at odds to the actual record. Now this one's sealed, and I'm not going to open it, but it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Santigold's debut album, which was a 15th anniversary repress. Really well regarded. All right, I've got some hip hop classics now. This is probably the actually, I'm not sure. One of the next two are the outstanding propositions here. So let me just show you this. This is Bone Thugs and Harmonies, 1999 Eternal. I think either the second or third album from Bones Thugs. Obviously, still playing on kind of the gangster rap themes, but this record has kind of got some tragedy at its heart in that probably the band's mentor, and certainly I think he's credited as producer, is Eazy-E from NWA fame, and he passed away a few months before this record was released, and that may actually inform the art print that comes with this one, which you can see here. Now, this is the first ever vinyl reissue with the original album art, cut by Ryan Smith, on red and white vinyl, and the listening notes are actually really moving about this album. And the art print, I think, is one of the best art prints that Vinyl Me Please ever did, and I think this is quite a stunning package. And, you know, this kind of 1990s rap is, it kind of obviously still plays in that kind of gangster theme, but it's super creative and melodic. And it has quite a lot in common with this. Now, this is my copy, but I also have another copy for the whoever wants to buy this. Now, this is Busta Rhymes' debut album called The Coming. And this is a good way for me to show you a little bit about what Vinyl Me Please do. So typically hip hop records are nearly always gatefold and nearly always double LPs. A lot of the classic hip hop came in the CD era, so you're talking about 70, 72 minutes of music. Busta Rhymes arriving on the scene with, you know, in great collaborations with De La Soul and others, and this record was incredibly sought after and was a monster hit. But look at this. This is an example. You just get this beautiful kind of. They do a really nice job. And this one's semi-transparent as well of creating something that is somewhat in theme with the sleeve. You can see that's embossed. So this wasn't this was an exclusive. So this was not a record of the month. They did this in limited numbers for there's the other record. This one's a little bit different. So Cat highly recommended. I had a US first press of that, and honestly, it is nowhere near as good. Nowhere near. There's some more of the hip hop to come. The hip hop track on Vinyl Me Please has probably been the biggest surprise to me. So there's country, classics. Classics is the one that I'm subscribed to, which is blues, soul, jazz, funk, typically 1970 or earlier. And then essentials is the Strokes, the Arctic Monkeys, Santigold, Bone Thugs and Harmony, you know, the big kind of releases. And then you get hip hop and rock, who are the two newest streams, and they're very, very interesting. Rock, they've gone down the route of doing the Stooges. In a couple of months, they're doing 2 records of the month. First time I've ever done this. The same artist, 2 records of the month, and that's going to be the Ramones with Rocket to Russia and Too Tough to Die, which I cannot wait. And you know, anyway, and next month, I'm really excited. They're doing a 2 times 45 RPM release of The Hissing of Summer Lawns by Joni Mitchell, which is my favorite. Alongside Court and Spark, I think her two best records. All right, So let's crack on here. There's still quite a few to show you. Maybe not quite as famous as these ones, but still really interesting. So Vinyl Please also do exclusives for things like City Pop. So this was released in 1983. City Pop being this very sophisticated Japanese take on kind of early 80s pop, and very almost think of it like, you know, a pop artist backed by Steely Dan. Very, very, very careful, but very upbeat, very thoughtful. This is the first ever reissue of the 1983 Japanese city pop classic, newly remastered for vinyl. This was released, there was 500 in this release, and this is number 123. Limited to 500 foil stamped and numbered copies. What I love about this is look how impossibly short the top is for that surfer. Apparently this was the label that did this. This was their kind of masterpiece record cover. They created new fonts for this sleeve, new colorways, and it was it's, you know, it's now completely sold out as well. A really, really cool record, and this copy is sealed. I mentioned there's still more hip hop to come. Now, this is Juvenile, who's probably the biggest star on the Cash Money label. Now, this is one of my personal favorite hip hop records. I find it's very it's kind of ragged. It's not kind of sample heavy. It's more agitated and nervous sounding, but I really like it. So this one, first ever official vinyl release, pressed on yellow vinyl, and instead of an art print, what you get with this one is a stencil of the Easy Money logo, and the stencil is about the size of a record. So you push out the little inserts, and then you can do it. So my daughter plays with these stencils, and anyway, it's really, really interesting. Really, really interesting record. If you listen to the second track, you'll get a sense of the jittery nature of it. Yeah, it's very, 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 very lovely. Now, I have this. This is the first of the jazz exclusives that I want to talk to you about. Now, this is Gene Russell's Talk to My Lady. Gene Russell was part of, I think this is the Black Jazz label, and this is my copy. Now, I really like this record. The reason that's up there is because I was just playing it. Let me show you the vinyl on this one. It is beautiful, kind of green. You can see the Black Jazz label. This record is really quite accessible. There's cover versions of You Are the Sunshine of My Love, for example, on there, or Me and Mrs. Jones. But I put this on, and my wife really likes it too. She's kind of an arbiter of accessible jazz. This copy is sealed, and it is number 343 of 500. Okay, the other thing that Vinyl Me Please really cares about is new artists. So they will typically cherry pick female singer-songwriters or rap artists, or those who are kind of early doors in their career, and they'll press 500 records. They'll call it an exclusive. It drops in the store. If you're a member, you're able to buy at a discounted price. So I've picked up quite a few of these over the years, and some of them I really like. So everything in this list I enjoy. So that's the first thing. So this one is Helena Deland, and it's called Someone New. Now, this is number 99 of 300. So a lot of these exclusives for new artists are pressed at only 300. This one's sealed. This is female singer-songwriter, indie pop, really melodic, thoughtful, very pure voice. I think she's Canadian, I think. She's done a few more records, and her career is progressing well, but that particular pressing goes for a lot of money on Discogs. A lot of these limited pressings that were only 200-300. Really, they're hard to find, especially sealed. So yeah, there's one more of those to come. In fact, I'm going to talk about this one now. In some ways, I think this record's probably even better than Helena Deland. You try the first 2 tracks of Helena Deland on Spotify and see what you make of it. But this is probably even better. So this is Empress of. This is really interesting, kind of R&B, hip hop with soul inflections. She's already had a couple of hits. Now I'm trying to remember how many they made of this. Limited to 300, and I think that's number 268. The only issue with this one is there's a tiny little chunk at the sleeve, but it's still sealed. Well worth listening to. I know I've got some friends who are really into her. Gosh, I've got still a few to go, and I'm running really long. I'm going to go pretty quick. So True Love is another one of their exclusive records. Now you can find this on Spotify if you look up True Love Devon Walsh, Devon, Devon Walsh. And what you'll find with this, now this is number 179 of 300, mellow male vocal electronica. Yeah, really interesting. I know some of you have already bought this. This is one of Vinyl Me Please's most out there exclusives. There is no question. This was number 16 on the classics, and it is called Juju / Alchemy of the Blues by Sarah Webster Fabio. Now, the thing about this, if you went to buy an original press of this, grab $300, $400, $500, $600 and you might be lucky. It is really hard to find. This they pressed on black vinyl, remastered by Grammy award-winning engineer Pete Renninger, and there's really interesting listening notes. This is super funky blues, really bluesy, kind of very live sounding band in the studio. Groovy, totally groovy. In fact, I have on the notes here that originals now fetch over $2,000 US. This is a seriously interesting and funky record. Okay, we get still some hip hop. Now this is E40s and a record called The Hall of Game. This was number 53 on the hip hop track. Lacquers cut by Barry Grint at Alchemy Mastering. I would say that of Cicely Belston's probably number 1. Second is Barry Grint. Barry Grint's hip hop pressings are really bass heavy, really warm, forward sounding. This has got this really interesting kind of a red ball effect vinyl print, and listening notes by David Ma again. Anyway, E40 Hall of Game. I would say some more, but I'm running short of time. Okay, I've still got 1, 2, 3, 4 to talk to here. There's another hip hop record, probably my favorite of all of their releases. I bought 2 at the time. This is my spare. This is Armand Hammer's Furtive Moments. First ever reissue of this EP on vinyl. It was originally released in 2014. There's 1,000 copies of this, and this is number 754. All right, 3 to go. Jose Gonzalez, the Swedish guitar acoustic player. This is his second album. This is a very low. This is number 12 that came off the press. Still sealed in excellent condition. Pressed on exclusive cream and charcoal vinyl, limited to 1,000, foil stamped and numbered. This includes Teardrop. Now, his version of Teardrop is wonderful. On vinyl, it is fantastic. Jose Gonzalez. 2 to go. I mentioned the country track. Now, this is John Michael Montgomery. Now, the country track is kind of probably the most controversial of the tracks. albeit it has produced some of my favorites of over the last couple of years. It's only been around for about a year and a half. The first ever vinyl release of Montgomery's eponymous 1995 album, Barry Grint, again, listening notes by Andrew Winstorfer, who is the editor of music and who's the kind of the engine behind the country track. Now they have done some great stuff by Graham Parsons and others. This type of music isn't my scene, but this will be very cheap and it's very, very good. Amazing pressing apparently. And then finally we've got some ambient music. Now this is one of the most interesting and thoughtful records of them all. So this was originally recorded in 1975 and was long lost. It was just disappeared from the ether. Tapes were found previously unreleased, nearly lost album by the composer of the 1975 ambient wonder Neighborhoods, remastered from original sources including liner notes by Michael Klausman, pressed on cloud blue sky marble vinyl, limited to only 300 numbered copies, and this is number 252, and you can see it's hand numbered. Ernest Hood, Back to the Woodlands. I've been listening to some kind of ambient Aussie music. There's a band that I really like called Not Drowning Waving, and their kind of ambient record Little Desert, hugely influenced by Brian Eno. But I think this record influenced Eno as opposed to Eno influencing these more cerebral music. And so yeah, really, really interesting as well. Give it a listen. So all of these will be on the price list. As I said, if none of these sell, then I'm not going to give one away. But if 8-10 records sell, then everyone who buys will go in, and you have a very, very high odds chance of getting an amazing vinyl record. Wide Awake. Let me just remind you all what the freebie will be. It is this. Bright Eyes. I'm Wide Awake, it's morning. I'm just going to say again, this record is awesome. Having a chance to win this is amazing. I think, anyway, I hope you guys found something interesting out of that list. Definitely a diverse and interesting chunk of music. These will be way below the prices that Vinyl Me Please sell them at. But that's fine. That's what this is all about. I hope you find something you like. If you want to be on the price list, shortcutsrecords@gmail.com. Thanks all. Oh, list 2 will be soul and funk and blues and jazz. I'll do it a little bit later. All right, bye.